Aloha! Welcome to the Ascension cast. I'm Brian Daniel Edwards, and I'm accompanied by.
Sarah Wessells.
So, this is going to be another unique and interesting conversation we're having. Today, it is Thanksgiving, so happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And let's not forget and camouflage it by calling it Turkey Day. Everybody wants to call it
Agreed.
Turkey Day or, the day before Black Friday. Well, we're forgetting the whole point of the day. The day is to give thanks.
Yes, it is.
Uh, there's a lot we can talk about Thanksgiving, but let's go to you because it's your favorite holiday.
It is my favorite holiday. So, Thanksgiving started to be my favorite holiday when I was very young, just because it was the one day out of the year that my family really focused on gratitude. And coming from a very dysfunctional family, that was a very important thing to have, gratitude. So I know you wanted to talk a little bit more about why gratitude, what that does for you for us as human beings, what that does in terms not just in terms of coping, but on so many levels, gratitude is an amazing thing for you. So do you want to?
Absolutely. Holding the vibration of gratitude just
Yeah,
brings in more abundance. So many times, as humans on this planet and living this human existence, we just get caught up in the bills that are coming, the lack in the bank account, and we focus on what we lack, not what we have. So by focusing on that we don't have this or we don't have that or I'm wanting, the definition of wanting is lacking. So when we say I want this or I want that, uh,
it means that you don't have it yet.
yeah, exactly.
So you're
Like
focusing on not having. Yeah.
oh, you you put the comment up.
What comment? I
You just
didn't. Oh, I don't know how that happened, but okay.
okay.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. So a lot of the definitions of words have changed, especially want. Like I want this, I lack this, I'm wanting, this. So what does that mean? Wanting, I'm lacking. And in Old English, that's what it was taken to be. And in the spiritual realms, they haven't monkeyed with any of the definitions on
No.
the other side. They're still going off of, English 1.0. So when you're using, oh, I want this, well, guess what? You're telling the universe, you're telling the heavenly host, you're telling the spiritual realms that you're lacking this. And when you tell them you're lacking this, they'll be obliged to make it happen that you are lacking that. So it's even desire is kind of, it gets complicated when you're like, whoa, wait a second. English has been built like a trap. How can we get around that? It takes a lot of crafty wording and becoming a word wizard, which is actually a class that I'm going to be offering very soon. So words are very powerful when used correctly.
They are. Yep.
So vibrating with that, the vibration of gratitude, just radiating that will draw in more abundance to you. And the more gratitude you have, the more things that will come to you, the more abundance that will come to you. If you're grateful for the love you have in your life and you give thanks and blessings, you'll get more. More
Yeah,
blessings will be given unto you.
for sure.
And every time you give or are charitable, like it just comes back around to you. So
So for me, this really became a very important holiday when I had kids. Growing up, it taught me how to practice gratitude. But now that I'm a parent, this is the one day I get to really hammer home the importance of gratitude, and they'll actually listen because it's the cool thing to do in mainstream, right? So, so that is why this holiday is so important to me. But yes, gratitude all year round is a very, very powerful tool.
yeah.
Um, you were talking about the vibration, and I know a lot of people, you can Google easily and find a chart of the vibrations frequencies for different emotions. And, it tends to be like the more positive emotions, the ones that we enjoy, have a higher frequency. And the ones that we don't like so much, the ones that kind of feel really crappy, are the ones that have a lower frequency. And so I just lost my train of thought. So people sometimes don't want to even, like, they try to trick themselves out of feeling those the lower frequency vibration emotions, because they feel like it's a bad place to go, like it's going to bring down your whole vibe as a being, and it's going to put you in a very bad place. So I just wanted to make a note that it's okay to feel those lower vibe emotions, that we need them, but in practicing gratitude, in practicing forgiveness, and practicing some of those other practices that we use often, that will help to not feel those low vibe emotions so much.
Yeah, there's a difference between feeling emotions. A lot of people, well, I feel this or I feel that, and they get caught in this circular argument of emotions. Sometimes it's this balance of feeling, but as an intuition, just kind of a light guidance. And I'm trying to think of how to actually explain the difference between getting caught in emotions and being a clairsentient and feeling something deep inside your gut or your heart. Because
Does it
when
matter?
kind of, I've noticed that there's a difference between feeling something, like I feel just like deep down in my heart or my gut that I'm supposed to do this, versus, well, I'm feeling this emotion and that emotion. And sometimes just getting lost in that airy fairy emotion can just kind of lead us in circles. Well, I'm feeling this and I'm feeling that and I'm feeling that and I'm feeling that, and no choice will ever come of it. That's why it's kind of important to balance that, the mental or the thought and the logic with the emotional. So you kind of use them together to guide you. So as that, like that gut feeling along with logic, okay, what logically makes sense, and then use that to guide you, because feeling emotions can kind of just keep you running in circles. They're oftentimes just the emotions are the name of an energy. So being stuck in a low vibration, well, that might just mean that emotion has to get cleared. So if it's anger, that energy of the anger has to get cleared, and that emotion of anger is just the name on that energy that has to be cleared, or sadness or other things.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally agree. There's a difference between getting stuck feeling an emotion versus feeling something and then processing it.
Yeah.
And so it's not bad to feel it. It's a matter of what you do when you feel it. Are you going to just sit there and feel it and then, like, get stuck there? Or are you actually going to feel it and go, where's this emotion coming from? How do I process it? Why am I having it? And actually, like, move through it, as opposed to either getting stuck feeling it or burying it so you don't have to feel it.
Yeah. And that's a trap. Either one of those
Yeah,
is not healthy.
correct.
But getting caught in oh, I'm feeling my emotions now. Okay. But where are you going into, uh, like, how are you going to get out of this? Do you have a
Mhm.
roadmap out, or a plan to, instead of like, I'm stuck here in this emotion and I'm going to feel this emotion? Well, unless you deal with it and change that, you could be feeling it from way out into the future for years to come, unless you go,
Or
okay,
decades.
I'm feeling it. It's okay. Like, say sadness or grief, you lost someone, or you have righteous anger. Okay, it's okay to feel that, but don't get stuck there. So many people get stuck in trauma, like, oh, they did something wrong to me and I'm mad and it's righteous anger, but then they hold on to it instead of going, okay, I'm going to release that and ho'oponopono with that person. So that's a Hawaiian technique. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I forgive you. So that energy is, that's kind of what ho'oponopono means. Pono means right. So ho'oponopono, that's about making
You make
right
the
with
right
the person,
choice. Or
sending them
again.
that energy of love and forgiveness. So, that is important to do that, or releasing a sadness, because, yeah, it's okay to feel sadness or trauma that happened. If you lost someone important, or it, yeah, okay. It's emotions are felt. Emotions aren't controlled. They aren't something that we can switch on and off. However, by feeling it and then processing it and releasing it, we can move forward and not get stuck in these trauma traps.
Even if it's not a person. Brian, can I call you out about a recent loss of yours that's not a person?
Okay. I, should I be worried?
No, no.
Okay.
So something that you're currently dealing with is the loss of a vehicle that you love very much, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that is a loss, and it's okay to feel that as a loss, even if on the surface you're like, this is shallow, it's a car, cars are replaceable, or like I don't know, I'm drinking out of these are my favorite. I shared that Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. I don't know if you guys can read that or not, but these are my favorite glasses ever. They say grateful on them. They've got pretty fall leaves. I love them to death. And last year my kids broke like two of them. I'm like, they're like my favorite. We have like a whole set. They're like my favorite. And it was like, that really sucks. Like I care about that. And it's okay to feel feelings. Like even if it's over something small or something that, is material or, something financially related, whatever that is, you're allowed to feel feelings. It doesn't make you a bad person, it doesn't make you shallow. It's a matter of what you do when you feel the feelings.
Yeah. And I mean, you're right. It sounds from the outside kind of stupid that I'm upset about losing my car, but
Or that
that
I'm upset
car,
about losing a couple of glasses.
yeah, that as well. However, I really liked that car, and it was more than the car. It was the functionality. It was the freedom that it gave me. It gave me 50 miles to the gallon, and I could sleep in it like a camper. That was super efficient. So I could buzz around anywhere in the country. But for the last couple months, I'm like, okay, it's time to move on. It's time. Like I didn't understand why I was feeling it. I'm like, it didn't really feel like mine anymore. And so now I see I'm selling it and going to buy a van that I can live in more long term. So I can go to different areas and do healing long term, and maybe Sedona, maybe New Mexico, Colorado. And Prius life is awesome, like van life, but in a Prius, it's awesome because you can skip around for next to no money. However, when it's cold, when it's rainy, there isn't much room to hang out in the vehicle. So going down to like Key West, I lived in my Prius for a month. And it was great because I can just live outdoors. However, if it's colder, if just even long term, being able to cook inside the vehicle, being able to do other things inside the vehicle. So if I can get a small camper van or something like that, that's going to serve my purpose a lot more and let me travel around and accomplish my mission of teaching classes, of giving lectures and doing events and healing all around the country, as opposed to just kind of like Prius life was like surviving in the Prius. And I had it set up and the windows were tinted. I had this really nice screen on it where I could watch classes and listen to classes. So yeah, there was that emotional connection, but it's the that, and it's just okay. I felt sad about losing it and losing my freedom in that sense. However, I know something much better is coming, and I don't know what it is yet. Just like the last time I got a Prius, and the time before that I got a Prius, it just like I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm trusting that it's going to happen, and it happened. I didn't really, when I was in Hawaii, I was bare minimum budget, and all of a sudden a Prius got dropped in my lap. And I was sad to get rid of that, and then got a nicer Prius. And now I'm like, okay, I'm sad to get rid of this. And what's next? How does it get any better than this? And it does. It just keeps bigger doors keep opening up. Like right now, it just kind of, the car caused a whole bunch of things to collapse in. And the fact that I'm getting rid of the car, and the fact that I'm moving forward, it's like, okay, I don't know when the next door is opening up. So I'm kind of just stuck here. But it's given the opportunity for me to do a lot of introspection and work on myself to prepare for whatever my next mission is, which I don't even know yet. So where am I going? What am I doing next? I don't know. I'm still being called to the Southwest. I have an invitation to go to Hungary. So that would be interesting.
Hungry.
Yeah.
Right on.
So another powerful healer invited me out there, and there's a lot of really cool places to do healing out there, and a lot to see. So who knows? Things are kind of getting locked down over there, so I don't know if I want to head over there right now. So there's a lot of variables happening. So I think timelines are shifting and merging, and we'll see what happens. So I missed a couple comments here from DB Cooper. Do you believe in positive and negative emotions? Well, not really. Emotions are emotions. You feel them and move on. Some emotions feel good. Some emotions feel less than good. They're an indicator of what is going on. So it's just telling you what's going on. It's not good or it's not bad to feel emotions. Sadness, if someone dies and you feel sad, it's perfectly fine.
It's actually really interesting to think about, but they have actually studied the hormones released in your body when you're feeling different emotions. And most people don't realize the most like exciting, uplifting emotions are just as stressful on your body as like the worst ones, or the ones that we have labeled as positive, super positive and super negative. They're both super stressful on your body. So this whole positive emotion versus negative emotion is totally a human construct.
That's actually interesting. I did not realize that.
Yeah, that's why like when people are getting married, that's like a big time. So many people get sick right before they get married. Or like when I was in high school, I remember I would get sick before like every audition for like a competition, not a competition, for an audition choir. Every time I auditioned for something, I would get sick every time. And it wasn't that I was like, it was a negative thing. It was like I was so excited and there was so much going on that it would stress me out and I'd get sick. So yeah, that's the super excited, super like overwhelmingly positive is just as stressful as the, down in the dumps, sad, angry, whatever.
Interesting. So kind of finding that emotional zen is probably the healthiest way. That's
I
interesting.
think it's all about balance. We
Yeah.
feel sad, we feel excited, we feel happy, we feel zen, we feel whatever we feel.
Yeah,
What to do
you're
with
right.
it.
So then there's another. Do you think when things happen that it is not what we want, that it is what is meant to happen? Fate, I guess. Well, I mean, potentially. There are things that are meant to happen. So if an opportunity, this has happened multiple times in my life, where one opportunity just kind of collapses in. And I'm like, I can't believe I missed that window of opportunity. I should have left earlier. And I'm just kind of, questioning myself, going, oh man, I missed that opportunity. I feel bad about that. However, then when that one door closes, another better door opens up. So sometimes we don't even understand why an opportunity closes, but it's oftentimes a better one opens up. Or if something bad happens, something good might come out of it. And oftentimes, if it's not happening directly to us, maybe it's happening to someone else and they needed to experience that. So it might be a little bit poignant for us to experience it. However, it might have changed someone's life completely.
We could go down the rabbit hole in this one.
Yeah. And not only that, we have free will. So if an opportunity presents itself and we don't choose to act on it, well, then we miss that opportunity and bad things could happen. Like, if we choose to, go out and, peddle drugs or something, like say, someone drops a Coke, brick of Coke in my lap and I'm like, hey, easy money. I, go out and start peddling it. Well, that could be easy money, but then I get caught and locked up and I'm like, oh, I guess that was meant to happen. Oh, that was just fate. Well, no, like action reaction. Like sometimes
Well,
our actions have consequences. I don't want to say karma because that's kind of something energetic, but it's really sometimes things happen because of choices that we make. If we choose to eat a certain way, if we're eating junk food and nasty food every day and we're feeling sick and we're unhealthy, well, that's the reaction of our action. Whereas if we choose to eat a healthy diet, if we choose to work out, well, all of a sudden we'll be feeling better. Our body will be healthier. It's, part of it is fate. However, I don't really ascribe to fate unless it's things that are supposed to happen in our soul contracts and people we're supposed to meet up with and divine rendezvous and things like that. However, I really believe in free will. You
mhm.
choose your destiny. You are the master of your destiny. And the outcomes are dependent on your choices. So if I kept just being in this state of not choosing anything and just being here and going, oh well, let me find the easiest way and just get a menial job and okay, I guess I'll just buy a house or something, and I wouldn't have had all these adventures that I've had. But by going, hey, I'm going to take a leap of faith and I'm going to start traveling the world, the connections I've met, the amazing people that I've met, the experiences that I've had have been absolutely life-changing. So that was not necessarily fate. That was choosing to make something happen. I didn't really have the budget to be a world traveler, I thought, but I'm like, hey, I'm taking that leap of faith and here it happened.
So there's that, but there's also like you come in with certain circumstances and certain personality traits, and that allows you to make those decisions. So there's
Yeah.
that piece too.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
then there's the piece where, we have these guides that are looking out for us from the other side, that are kind of rearranging things and putting things in place so that we can make choices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are so many aspects to what happens. A lot of it, there's contract writing as well.
I
Uh,
agree.
the book Think and Grow Rich really talks about that.
I
Writing
have
out a
not read
contract and making a decree to the universe, making a decree, and that the heavenly host will bring it to fruition. It will actualize what you write down in that contract for. Whether you write it down and read it every day, whether you write it and then throw it in the fire and burn it, you send up that rocket of desire and it comes back. Maybe not in the time. Well, actually, in the book Think and Grow Rich, they talk about writing a time frame. I will have this much. What I will have this. A specific goal by a specific date, and then the work that you're willing to put into it. Yeah.
So I have a little bit of a different perspective on that, but then I also know a little bit more about human design. So according to human design, there are different types of um, beings, and some of us do better with more specific details like time frames and really like spelling out all of the details, the minute teeny tiny details. And some of us do better with not looking at the specific details and really just putting an intention out there like this is the goal, this or something better, and just allowing the universe and allowing the guides and anything else to support, and trusting that it will turn out just the way that you want it to or better. So
Yeah.
there is that piece. I'm one of those people that I don't do well with specifics. I don't do well with time frames. I don't do well thinking about like how many times I have to do this task or that kind of a thing, and really just letting the energy flow, and that works better for me.
There's a lot of ways, and I've seen people successful doing a lot of different techniques. So it's not
Okay.
necessarily one way to do it. Like the Prius in Hawaii, it belonged to the farm that I was working on, and she drove me up to the store, the owner of the farm. She drove me up to the store to get some hardware supplies. I sat in the car. I'm like, this is mine. I sent up the rocket of desire, and within days, it was my primary driving vehicle to go to the store, and they just let me have free reign. They wanted me to kind of stay local with it, but besides that, I had free use of that Prius until they agreed to do a work trade for it. And with just a couple tasks, I got that vehicle. So that completely changed my Hawaiian experience. Going, this is mine, and sending up that rocket of desire. And all of a sudden I got it. And it was there. Same thing with a generator in Hawaii. I was out in the jungle living on a converted bus. There was no electricity, no electronics. It was amazing. I absolutely loved it. No Wi-Fi. I slept so amazing. There was no electronic buzzing, no refrigerators running. For me, that's actually really annoying to hear, even like a furnace or some of the spinning or whirring noises. I like sleeping in a very natural environment. So feeling the electromagnetic waves or cell phone towers, it's off-putting for me. So living in this bus out in the jungle was absolutely amazing. But I'm like, yeah, I would like a little bit of power so I can take my laptop and start working on my books, doing other work. So that afternoon, I did a healing session, and all of a sudden, I threw up that rocket of desire that morning. I would like a generator. I would like electricity. I wasn't even specific about how to get that electricity. The healing session I did for her that afternoon, after the session, she's just kind of talking, and she's like, hey, I just switched to solar power. I have an extra generator. Would you like it? Yes, please. I'm just like, wow, just really amazing.
So right along with that thought, that's actually how I ended up going to the college that I went to. We went there for an open house. I got out of the car. We parked in like the main parking lot. I got out of the car. I looked around and I was like, this is it. I'm going here. This is it. I am not even kidding, Brian. I never, ever submitted my admissions essay, and yet I still got accepted.
Wow. Yeah, it's that easy. It happens that way. I mean, it's just like a yes, please. And it happens. Just that little rocket of desire, send that up, and it comes right in.
So there's a difference between sending up the desire in an air of confidence and an air of gratitude. Like, I am accepting this. Thank you so much for this, because I know this is coming and it's amazing. Versus, oh, please, please, oh, please, I just really want this. Please, 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 please. So I just wanted to point that.
That gratitude.
Very different.
That sounds amazing. Yes, please. As opposed to, oh, please, please, that place of desperation and clinginess. Yeah. It's a complete different energy. So when I've noticed that it's worked and worked instantly, it was just this light, yes, please, with this immense gratitude, love, and thankfulness of my heart, just like, oh, that would be amazing. Yes, please. And it happens.
And it's about, this is where the law of attraction comes in. And I know that's like so cliche, and it's so like, everyone's talking about it. This is how it actually works, is you actually match that energy, and therefore it becomes part of your life.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, like people that look at their bank account and go, oh, I don't have any money. Oh, I look at the bank account again. I don't have any money. Well, you're focusing on the money. Where your thought goes, and thought and energy manifests. So if you keep looking at your bank account going, oh, I don't have anything, or I'm even personal traits, negative self-talk, like, oh, I'm not going to get this job because I'm just not that good, or self-fulfilling prophecy. And I've seen it happen so many times where people go, oh, I'm going to have this happen, or I know someday I'm going to come down with a major illness or something like that. And it just happens because you're an awesome manifester. You can actualize things. Yes. Unfortunately, you've been actualizing things that aren't good. If you're where you're focusing and energy goes, that's what you bring into this world.
You can even change your physical appearance just based on how you're feeling. Like, so I don't remember the name of the person who did in Japan who did all of the studies on water and
Dr.
how when
Emoto?
you what?
Dr. Emoto?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Emoto. So even just looking at that and looking at how you can change water and the way that water crystals appear and the way that they behave based on the emotion that intent over them. So if you think about the fact that your body is what's the percentage they're saying now, like 75% water, and every little teeny tiny cell requires immense amounts of water to do what it needs to do, then you can understand how that would shift and how that would radiate differently if you're, putting different intentions on yourself.
Yeah.
Like you were talking about how you talk to yourself, that negative self-talk versus positive self-talk, or the way that if you look at yourself in the mirror and go, geez, I'm really ugly every day, then you're putting that over all of that water. You're literally changing the way that you look based on how you feel about yourself.
And when you say something with energy, the universe is going to align to make it happen. So if you're saying you're ugly, well, guess what? They'll go, okay, that's what you want. We'll bring it to you.
Yep.
And I wanted to talk about that as well on a greater scale. So where attention goes, energy goes, it manifests. So think about watching the evening news. If they keep having this fear narrative and fear, because fear sells, fear puts people in a state of control. So if they can convince enough people watching it, you start getting the 100th monkey syndrome. I think we talked about that in the last episode, right?
I don't know if we talked about it in the episode or if we were talking about that in a private conversation.
So the 100th monkey syndrome is where they were studying monkeys, and some of them were starting to wash the sweet potatoes, and then other ones would see that, and then they would wash the sweet potatoes. When they hit about 100 monkeys on one island, all of a sudden monkeys on another island would start doing it. So when it hit this collective consciousness that enough of them were doing it, it passed on to the whole collective consciousness. And there's a whole collective consciousness between each different species. So once the consciousness is seeded with bad news, they're casting or programming, their broadcast. It's not even hidden. They're casting spells. Just like the last Olympics that happened. They had this weird abstract thing where people were wearing masks in hospital beds and there's the Grim Reaper. Well, they were programming the subconscious mind for a giant number of the collective. And then what happened right after the Olympics? What happened right after that weird, bizarre spell that they're casting over the world? Yeah. Yeah. So then everybody seemed to get sick with something that seemed to be pretty bad. So yeah. So
Or
weird.
something that was portrayed to be pretty bad.
Yeah, that's more like it. So they literally cast a spell over the whole world, and it's a webcast. It's a broadcast. They're telling you right there. They're casting a spell over people using words made with spelling. It's all out in the open, and when people start dissecting it, it's really crazy to see what is actually going on in this world. So we got another comment here. Do you think someone who makes a bad choice or behaves in a negative way is a bad person, or is it a bad decision made by a good person who can make them then make a better choice? You are who you choose to be.
I don't believe in good and bad people.
Yeah, the Native Americans talk about two wolves, a good wolf and a bad wolf inside. And like I forget the parable, but they talk about, well, how do you know which wolf is going to win? It's which wolf you feed. And how do you feed the good wolf? By making a choice. Every time you choose to do something good, you feed that good wolf. And eventually that dark wolf will just become less and less and less powerful. And as you feed that wolf of light on the inside, well, you become more and more light. So even, okay, I'll just go to the extreme case. I have done healing sessions for demons. So instead of doing an exorcism where I'm trying to kill the demon or hurt the demon and cast it out, I'm like, okay, why are you here? What are you doing here? And this is kind of an extreme case scenario where this demon was coming through the person, screaming at me and insulting me. It's just, you're not going to win. It's time for you to go. Why are you doing this? So I ended up actually doing a session for it, clearing belief statements that held it back. So then I sent it up to the light and asked the heavenly host to kind of snatch it up and send it up. However, by clearing those belief statements, it allowed it to start making better choices. So belief statements or trauma that hold people back oftentimes will keep them in the cycle of making poor choices. And the more poor choices they make, the more confirmation they have that bad things are going to keep coming, and then it causes them to make more and more poor choices. So it's really about choosing the next right step, because all you have is that next choice you're faced with. You can't change the past. You can't, plan everything out in the future, because no plan withstands the trial of war. This is something, I'm planning on doing this. I'm planning on doing that. I was planning on going to Texas, staying at a community for a while, and then continuing on to New Mexico, and then Arizona up to Colorado. But then all of a sudden my plans collapsed in. So sometimes plans change. So really all we have is that next choice that we can make right now. And it doesn't make a bad choice. Sometimes we make mistakes. It happens. We don't choose the best choice. Sometimes our emotions get the best of us. So if you're angry, if you're sad, if you're feeling desperate, well, a poor choice might be made. But that doesn't make necessarily a bad person.
I don't even completely agree with that.
Okay.
Because I see those decisions as learning opportunities. And so I have a hard time saying, well, that was a poor choice if it was a learning opportunity, because is an opportunity to learn ever a bad thing? That's that whole polarity, good, bad, meh. It only exists here. It's not ever something that we take with us.
Yes. I mean, I know those people that say, right, wrong, good, bad. And, like, oh, there is no right, there is no wrong, there is no good, there is no bad. However, in my travels and my experience, I have seen bad. I have seen evil. I have seen darkness.
But everyone has their own scale for that.
Yeah.
There is no like clear-cut boundary of this is always the right choice, this is always the wrong choice, this is always the positive choice, this is always the negative choice. It's all situational. It's all, none of it's objective. It's all subjective based on what's going on at the time and what's around.
Yeah, I mean, to a point, but that can kind of lead to moral relativism and, so like, there is no bad, or if, like this solipsism is a trap as well. Like, well, I'm, everything is God, so I am God. And, like everything is just me then. So if I, do this, I forgive myself because, I cut them off, but I forgive myself because it's just me. Or, but there are certain things that are really dark that are coming to the surface that are going to shock the world.
I agree.
Some of the stuff that the elites are doing, like spirit cooking, which, is cannibalism, and pedivores. We're not talking about pedophiles. We're talking about pedivores. Some of these elites eat children, like they eat babies, like no joke. Or adrenochrome harvesting, where they torture children to death to harvest their adrenalized blood. And then
or how they put human parts in beauty products.
What?
or how they put human body parts in beauty products.
Yeah, that as well, or flavorings or shots. Yeah, they, believe it or not, there's a lot of cannibalism going on in society. And, we can't say, oh, use moral relativism and, oh, well, it's not that bad. Nope, nope, you're eating chopped up baby. Uh, call it what you want, but that flavoring has chopped up baby in it. Or, that shot that a lot of people are taking contains chopped up baby in it. So it is cannibalism. And moral relativism, well, I'm not going out and killing it myself, but it's okay. It's just a little bit. Well, okay, where's the line? When we're looking at moral compass, that's one of the things that have gotten me through some really difficult times where I had black magic being thrown at me, where people were trying to.
I'll be right back. Sorry.
Okay. There is technical difficulty over there, but there's been a lot of times where people have tried to confuse me. There has been times where black magic was thrown at me, and the only way that I was able to get through it was with my strong moral compass and listening to the very voice of God in my heart. And that is how I've been able to go through some of the really toughest of trials and still make it out and still hold the light and always choose the light. And really, it's one choice away. So even if there's a point in time where you chose poorly, doesn't make you a bad person. You can always make the next right choice. Let's see. So, okay. Does that work for love too? Like if you are grateful and show that you can get what you want in life as opposed to just wanting and without doing anything to get it. That's a tough one. By radiating something, we become magnetic and we draw it to us. Okay. Here we go. You back? All good?
I'm back. Sorry.
That's okay. So by radiating and magnetizing something to us, this is really the feminine and masculine. So the masculine is about action and doing and going and getting, where the feminine is about drawing it in and being magnetic. So do you agree with that one?
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
Oh, the question was about does that work with love? So the law of attraction, does that bring love in? So by radiating love, we can magnetize love to us, but at the same time, like just wanting it without doing anything to get it. Well, oftentimes the inner world reflects the outer world. So if you do your house cleaning and you clean out the garbage, you clean out the trauma, you clean out the baggage, that will oftentimes magnetize love to you, your correct partner. And if you are being magnetic, which is the name of my class about finding true love, if you're being magnetic by being unapologetically you, radiantly you, you have cleaned out all that heavy trauma and you're just shining, you're just radiating love. Well, you can't help but have people drawn to you and attracted to you, and not just in a romantic or sexual way. People just will find you absolutely irresistible and want to be in your company, or want to learn from you, want to do business with you. It's about being magnetic. So yes, part of it is that feminine magnetism and drawing it to you, but part of it is that masculine going out and making things happen in the world.
So I agree with that. I wanted to add 2 points though. So there's part of bringing things in toward you that involves creating space. So sometimes how you do anything is how you do everything. So if you have a lot of clutter and your aura is gunked up and you have a lot of bitterness and a lot of emotions that you're holding on to, it's literally how you do everything. So you're probably going to have a hard time drawing anything in that you desire, that you truly want, because you've got gunk in every field possible. So there's that, just cleaning things out everywhere, and that's that masculine part, right? That's that, cleaning up the clutter in your life, cleaning out the stuff that you don't use, cleaning out the emotions that are holding you back, cleaning out the gunk in your aura, cleaning out everything to make space. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention, I just lost my train of thought again. I'm so distracted today.
Well, every time we get on the webcast, I feel a lot of people's thoughts, and that there's a lot. You're picking up probably on the people watching the webcast, or maybe people are throwing stuff at us, like mentally, like, oh, I wonder this or I wonder that. So we could be picking up on their thoughts and questions, and it just feels a little bit chaotic. But it's probably coming from the audience.
I think what I did, I think I took my two thoughts and I think I combined them together. So there's the making space, being able to have space, open space in your life, in your aura, in your emotions, in your everything, to allow that to come in. So that's one part. And then the other part is realizing that it applies to all different areas of your life, which you touched on. But, just part of it's being open. The other part is letting things flow and being accepting of what comes in, and not necessarily being hyper focused on one specific thing, but just being open for whatever's coming. Because sometimes we think we know what we want, and then we get something better.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like being specific, yet, leaving it open to possibilities.
And taking the effort of cleaning stuff out so you have that space for things to come in.
Exactly. Yeah. Very true. And, a lot of it's not only just what we're trying to manifest or actualize, so oftentimes we get caught up in the manifestation process. Okay, well, I want abundance, so I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do that. Well, what do you actually want? You want the abundance, but do you actually want the abundance, or do you just want the bliss in your life? So, okay, I want the abundance so I can have freedom in my life. And then with the freedom, I can have fun. And with the fun, I can then have this, and then I can have the bliss. Well, do you want just bliss in your life? So focus on the bliss, focus on those positive emotions of love, bliss, joy, ecstasy, and then everything else will just line up to make it happen. So it's not getting caught up in the methods of manifestation. It's just focus on the bliss, focus on those positive emotions, and everything will then actualize the way it's supposed to for it to happen in your life.
Yeah. Some people get too focused on the emotions and don't take any action. And that's that feminine part. And then some people get too focused on the action and don't do the inner alignment work. And that would be the masculine part. And we all need to have that balance where we're focusing on what we really want, which sometimes takes some narrowing down and some trial and error to figure out what that even is. So to do that, and also take action steps, knowing that it's not really about the action steps, it's about moving the energy. If you're moving energy on the physical plane, you will manifest things on the physical plane. But if you're not moving energy on the physical plane, then you're not going to get anything that you're trying to work for.
Yeah. So we had another comment come in. Can you choose to feed the good wolf even though you have fed the bad wolf in the past? In other words, can you change? Well, no. Like according to my headhunter friend, you just got to cut the head off and send them on their next incarnation. No. I really, if it's about forgiving yourself. So everybody makes mistakes in life. And it's about making that next right choice. So yes, you can redeem yourself. You can move forward. You can forgive yourself. You can do everything in your power to make things right and choose to. I mean, we can go through 1,000 what ifs, and I don't know the scenario you're talking about, but it is possible to choose the good wolf and choose, who you are and who you want to be.
I don't believe in a good wolf and a bad wolf. It's a
Well,
very sweet, succinct parable, and there is a certain point to it. But I mean, really, like, you just can make the next best choice where you are now. Like, it's not
yeah.
about like, can you go back and then just, start from scratch, or, it's not like that. It's really just there's you, and you can make better choices or not. Like, you always have that space to do that.
Yes, and I guess the point of the wolf is the momentum that is built up with that. So
Absolutely.
when you make a right choice, it's easier to make that next right choice, and then it's easier to make that next right choice. Where if you start making poor choices, or choices that hurt you or hurt others, then it starts this downward spiral. So that's, I guess, where they get the idea of feeding one wolf or the other, because it starts to grow. And
Yeah,
I don't want to say like karmically, but just it just starts momentum moving in one direction or the other. Every time a choice is made, it starts momentum. So if right choice after right choice after right choice are made, it starts positive motion in a good direction.
agreed.
What about forgiveness of others? If someone does something negative to you, should you forgive them and give them a chance to prove they can change, or simply cut them out of their life? Uh, Always forgive them. Uh, Regardless of what happens, holding anger towards someone, holding resentment towards someone is just poisoning yourself. So always forgive them. However, if it's unhealthy for them to be in your life, choose not to have them in your life. It's okay to cut people out of your life. Again, we can go into 1,000 what ifs, and oftentimes people don't change, but sometimes they do. So it really is a case by case scenario. You are the master of your own destiny. Listen to your heart. Does it feel okay? Here's an access consciousness question. Okay, how does it feel if I choose to have them in my life? How am I going to feel in 5 years? How am I going to feel in 5 years if I choose to get them out of my life? How will this impact my life? Will it be positive? Okay, they're no longer going to be a drain on me financially, energetically. I'll be able to move forward in a very positive way. Or, oh, if I forgive them, all of a sudden we can come back together and create this amazing business and change the world together. So it really depends on a person by person and situation by situation basis. It really, does this feel light or does this feel heavy? And how does it feel in 5 years? How does it feel in the future if I choose yes, if I choose no? And it's not just about people, it's about anything. You can ask,
Mhm.
does this choice feel light or does it feel heavy? And okay, how does it feel if I make this choice in 5 years, and this now, and how does it feel in 5 years? So that can be applied to pretty much anything, any choice in your life.
I agree. Forgiveness is one thing, and that's completely separate than choosing whether or not to keep someone or invite someone back into your life. You should always, always, always forgive. Lighten that load for yourself. Forgiveness and gratitude are the two like biggest things that you could possibly do. They're the two most important things you could possibly do to raise your own frequency, is practicing forgiveness and practicing gratitude. Forgiveness, gratitude, forgiveness, gratitude. That is, those two things are the like most important things you could ever do for yourself. But whether or not to keep someone in your life or let them go or invite someone back in who maybe has changed, maybe not, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah. And that's why there's life coaches, to kind of help guide you on the way. And hey, do you know of any life coaches, Sarah?
Oh, I might. Do you?
Yeah. Aren't you one, by the way? And you're really good at what you do? Yeah. So,
I mean,
yeah.
I think we both are.
Yeah. So that's what we're
Yeah.
actually trained to do. So on this webcast, it's really hard to kind of just look at generic scenarios and say, okay, here's that. So that's why oftentimes it's really good to have a life coach, someone that can think logically, understand the subconscious mind, understand interpersonal dynamics and psychology, and be able to talk to someone and go, hey, here's what's going on in my life. I don't know what to do. Okay, well, here, let me ask a few questions And usually just by asking questions, people come up with the answers from deep inside, and they're like, oh, wow, okay, that's actually a lot easier than I thought it was, or I was making it out to be a lot more complicated. So that's why with just a few belief statement clearings, just a few reframings, we can change people's lives. And
There's one other dynamic that you didn't talk about that also plays into that whole forgiveness, not forgiveness. Does it feel light? Does it feel heavy? And that is when you think of like those situations or those people or whatever it is that you're thinking about and wondering if it feels light or heavy, is that feeling coming from the divine, your higher self, source, all of those things, or is it coming from your own past experience? Because the two do not equate.
yeah, okay, that's really hard. And for me, it's just, okay, does this feel light? Does this feel heavy? But okay, this is a problem in the past, dealing with partners. They would give me information and be like, oh, you're just coming from a place of fear or jealousy, when it was actually coming from a place of intuition.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Well, a lot of
sometimes,
people have a really hard time determining between the two. Is it
yeah,
intuition or is it, your ego? Is it your inner child? And the two, if you're not used to listening and if you haven't decoded what the two sound like for you, then they're going to probably seem like they overlap. So you might have things coming from your inner child and go, oh, I've got this gut feeling. This is telling me that I should or shouldn't do this. And what it's really coming from is your, inner child or your ego that's saying, you did something like that before. It didn't turn out so well. You probably shouldn't this time.
yeah. So
And sometimes it's valid and sometimes it's not.
sometimes it is intuition, sometimes it is trauma, and almost like PTSD. PTSD can really kind of influence choices, or fear-based choices. So all these things can come in, but
And
the
sometimes
more,
it's just beliefs that your parents had that you were exposed to as a child. So
yeah,
trauma is one thing, but sometimes it's just a matter of what you were absorbing when you were young, when you were open, and you were just like a sponge absorbing all the beliefs and all the things that everyone around you was exposing you to. And whether it was meant to harm or not, sometimes those things don't serve you well later.
yeah, this is actually a conversation I had with my mom. I was doing a session for her and kind of trying to help her reframe things. And one of the things that I was talking about was this lack mindset, a lot to do with Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad, Poor Dad book. And as kids, when we're in the store, she'd say, oh, we can't afford that. So then, like, oh, we can't afford that. You got to take care of those shoes. We can't afford to buy you new ones. You got to take care of this. And we just got programmed in this mindset. And then through talking to my brothers, it's like, whoa, we really had a lot of lack mindset. And I didn't realize that until I started popping the hood and going, wait a second,
Mm-hmm.
I can't afford that. Why am I going, oh, I can't afford that? No, I really can't afford that. It's not. So it's,
I had
or, oh, you don't like this food.
I had a regression hypnosis that showed me that when I was um, one, I was just a year old. I am a year and a half older than my next youngest sibling, my sister. And apparently, when I was one, I was in the store with an adult, someone who is in my life. I am not a very visual person, so with these things, I don't get a lot of clarity, but I get enough that I know what's going on. And so I was in the store and I was told that I couldn't have what I was asking for because the baby needed things. And what that translated into in my subconscious was that other people needed things that I wanted, and therefore I didn't need them or I wasn't supposed to have them. And so that is like, for a lot of my adult life, that ripped apart anything positive that I would get. I would go, oh, but, subconsciously, I would just tear it down. I would self sabotage because other people needed those.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
true. Oftentimes, when we think about these negative beliefs that we built up, it's like, oh, we're looking for this giant traumatic incident where someone, like backhanded us. No, you can't have that, because of this. Or no, sometimes it's just a really simple, no, you can't have it because the baby needs it. or like.
And
It,
as children, you don't have the critical thinking abilities to be able to, note that this is a situational thing, or you just apply it to whatever makes sense at that age. And what does a 1-year-old know about the world, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's oftentimes not these big, epiphomatic moments, or it's just like, oh, wow, yeah, I did say that. Or manifestation things like, I am never going to date a person that does this, or, oh, I want a person that does that. Then all of a sudden we're like, why are we not? Oh, yeah,
Mhm.
I made that decree. And now it's so. So, okay, I'm releasing that. Boom, gone. And it's fixed. It's sometimes really simple.
Really simple.
Okay, we're getting more kind of similar. Okay, well, this question was just what we're talking about. How do you tell the difference between intuition or inner child? It is difficult for me to determine looking at the situation, and so it the more you use your intuition, uh, the more clear it's going to get. It's like a muscle. I actually was talking about that tonight. I had a really beautiful conversation with my brother's wife's grandmother. I don't really know who she was. Just this beautiful old lady, and she's asking about my travels and stuff. And then it kind of came up. Some of I was like a little bit like, okay, this might not go well, talking about my travels and the fact that I had learned with a lot of native traditions from all over the land and studied with First Nations and have spiritual stuff. And she goes, oh no, I completely believe in that. Oh wow, she's really open minded. And I even showed her a picture of the one ship that I got a picture of on Mauna Kea. And she goes, oh, yeah, no, I believe in off world beings and all that. And I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. So it was a really cool conversation. So then I talked about the energy healing and I showed her, I gave her a demonstration and I kind of blessed her and gave her some energy. And she's like, how does someone do that? And I explained the process of, like, how do you move your hand? You intend for it to move and it moves. How do you move energy? You intend for it to move and it moves.
Hmm.
So she's like, wow. And I explained, it's like a muscle. The more we do it, the better we get at it. So, also with intuition, the more we listen to our intuition and then get positive reinforcement, we can better understand, okay, that was intuition, that was fear. What's going on? And so it gets more and more clear the more we do it. However, when I was getting started, I would see things that people didn't want me to see and or weren't ready to face. So I'd say, hey, I feel like it's this. And then I'd get oh no, it's not. I'm cool. No, that's not something I feel. Wait a second, but I'm pretty sure that was my intuition telling me, and it was. Then I realized that people weren't ready to admit it to themselves, or they're embarrassed to share it with someone
Hmm.
else. So
So
that's.
I think, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you
Oh
off.
no, no, let's go ahead.
Okay. So I think the biggest difference that a lot of people notice is that your inner child or your ego, they come from more of a fear-based yes, but usually it's more of like a frantic type of energy. Like oh no, you start piling on the what ifs. You start piling on the anxious. It's the kind of like freaking out that someone would do if they were worried about something. That's usually your ego talking. Whereas the intuition is usually a calm, like centered, peaceful, graceful, like, hey, check this out. Whether that's positive or negative, it's usually a very quiet voice, especially at first. It's a very subtle hint, usually at first, until people get used to using it. And then, yes, you can strengthen it like a muscle, like Brian was just saying. But usually in the beginning, it's very subtle, very calm, very quiet. And then, of course, it stays very calm, forward, whether that's like, hey, you might want to look at this, or whether like this could be bad, or whether it's a, yeah, this is a really good idea. Go this direction. But usually that's the biggest difference between the two is that one is very like frantic, anxious, fear-based, like the overreactive, exaggerated kind of feeling, whereas the other is kind of calm and centered and just like, hey, this needs your attention.
Yeah. Uh, very true. Just like we were talking about earlier, where we're like, I want that, I have to have that, I need that. Well, or oh wow, that would be nice. Yeah, yes, please, and thank you. Just kind of, it's very light, very easy. So the intuition just comes, oh yeah, it's this, as opposed to, like this frantic, like grasping at straws type thing. And then when we're grasping at straws, it's also we can kind of put our desire into, well, I think it has to be this way, and make it, sometimes we make it very significant as well. So all of a sudden that can put more stress on the intuition and it can be off.
Yeah.
And then the other thing to look at when following intuition or making choices is, are we moving to something or away from something? That's a big thing we learned in NLP. So some of the choices we make in life are to avoid pain. So it's maybe not what we actually want in life, but we're moving away from the pain. So, the difference
That would be
between, like,
more.
so, okay, let's, just use me theoretically moving to the Southwest. Like, oh, I'm, like, I hate this cold weather and I want to get out of here. That would be an away from conflict, or an away from choice. Whereas where I'm like, I want adventure, or I'm excited about this adventure, I desire adventure, I'm ready to experience the world. That's a 2. I'm moving towards the adventure. I'm moving towards better places. So that's an example of those.
I was just adding on that usually, not always, but usually, if you're moving away from something, it is more of an inner child ego-based decision. And if you're moving towards something, is more intuition. Usually. Not always. It's not perfect, but usually.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah.
I wanted to throw out this example because a lot of people get confused and they think that the inner child is the only one that has concerns, and the intuition is the only one that thinks of the positives. So some people, I mean, I used to be one of them, would be like, well, if it's about something going wrong, then it's never intuition. And that's just not true. I know of someone, I do not know her personally, but I've heard this story a million times, who, when she had a child, she, I don't remember if it was a home birth or if she had just gone home quickly after that. She ended up having some sort of something wrong that could have killed her. And she was at home. She was woken up by somebody or something. And she just had this knowing of, yeah, I need to get to the hospital. And it wasn't like a frantic, oh my God, what if something's wrong? What if, something. It was, I need to get to the hospital. And so she woke up her husband super calm. They went to the hospital and they found out that she really did have an issue that could have killed her if she didn't go to the hospital. And that was just one example of, you can have intuitive hits that kind of warn you about something, that are like a protective thing, that are not necessarily fear-based. So that's possible. And then the other thing is, sometimes you need the warnings from your inner child or from your ego for real issues, like avoiding, I'm a woman. There are certain places I won't walk by myself in the dark, like down a dark alley. And I think that that's perfectly healthy, because a lot of things can happen in those situations, especially in like an inner city, and there are, if you're hiking in the woods, if you're in, the mountains where there's mountain lions or where there's bears, there's certain things that you need to be aware of to keep you physically safe. And again, that would be coming more from your ego or your inner child. And those are very real threats that you need to be aware of. So that's not always a bad thing to have your ego say, hey, you kind of need to be aware there might be something going on here. So neither one is good or bad. They're both useful in their own situations. Just being able to differentiate helps you to understand when you need to tap into which one.
Yeah, absolutely. And ego, everybody says ego is a bad thing. It's not per se. Ego wants, it talks about the Maslow needs and this hierarchy of needs where okay, a person wants to have a stable environment where they have enough food, they have enough water, they have enough warmth, they have enough supplies to be able to function, and then all of a sudden the ego continues to want more. Okay, well, what's next? What's out? What else is there? And all of a sudden it starts to tap into there's got to be more than this. So even people that are super rich, super wealthy, they go, okay, all my needs are met. Well, what else is there? The ego keeps wanting more. So yeah, the people can continue to push for global domination. However, at some point in time, there's still more. And what is it? It's not physical. It's the ego then pushes to the spiritual realms. And then when people oftentimes tap into the spiritual realms and start getting training, then the ego can be tamed, and then it becomes a useful tool and it doesn't run our life.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm curious, this just came to mind. Where would you put instinct into it? So you're talking about not wanting to, or being cautious in mountain lion country or bear country. So how would you put instinct in there with ego, inner child, and intuition? Where does instinct go in?
So instinct is physical. So your mind, in your subconscious, you have your ego, your inner child. A lot of people have them overlapping. I believe that they're one and the same. And then you have your higher self, the part of you that taps into the divine, and that's the subconscious part of your mind. And then instinct is sheer physical, like hormonal changes and things like that. So it's based off of biology, it's based off of like genetics and things like that, which is why, some people just don't have the same instincts because, thanks to technology and medicine and all those other things, we don't necessarily evolve the same way that other creatures on this planet do. So some people have more instinct than others. It's just biological.
That makes sense.
Whereas ego and inner child are based off of our personal experience.
Very interesting. So what about precognition? So oftentimes I find that when something falls, my hand is like already there and I didn't even like see it falling, and all of a sudden I'll just reach out and catch it. And so where does that fall in? Would you consider that intuition, or would that be?
It depends. You could argue that one. It could be argued instinct because you could have you could feel that. Even if you don't consciously think about it, you could feel it, the shift. Or it could be argued that that's part of your higher self, your knowingness, because you can remote view yourself. So if you can remote view yourself, then you can see the things that are happening around you.
So potentially it's the super conscious mind or higher self kind of jumping in and driving for a second to, so we reach out and our conscious mind isn't aware that that object was even going to fall, but all of a sudden our hand is there and catching it before our conscious mind even catches up.
Yeah, it's like the mommy driver instinct. Are you familiar with the mommy driver instinct?
I'm not familiar.
Okay,
with
long
that
before I had kids, I would be in the driving seat, and if I had to slam on the brakes, I would reach out my arm like this for the person sitting next to me, like so they don't jolt forward. Yeah. And it's just an instinct. It's like you just got to grab whatever's there.
Huh. I actually was not aware of that, but very interesting. Yeah.
But the same thing with things falling, like, oh, let me catch that before it breaks kind of thing. And it's not necessarily something you even have time to consciously think about. you could also make the argument that that's just, part of the things that are happening around you that you're not registering as important, that you're deleting, distorting, or generalizing, but that you're still aware of.
Yeah. I
So
mean,
you can make that
look,
argument too.
we're told in the NLP training that we can only process 5 bits of information at a time, and we're experiencing, what did they say, thousands or millions of bits
I
of
don't remember the
information?
numbers off the top of my head. It's a lot.
Yeah. So we're
So we
only
only
actually,
register 0.0032% of all of the things that are happening both within our bodies and in our environments at any given point in time, any second.
yeah. So this reality that we're experiencing, we're only experiencing this little tiny bit of it. Oh. So very
Well,
interesting.
consciously.
Yeah.
But that's how you could be listening to the radio and driving down the road and realize that you don't know how you got from point A to point B. You don't remember, you remember hearing the song, but you didn't actually hear the words.
Yeah.
Kind of thing happening. Like, you knew what was playing, but you weren't actually hearing it play. And
Yeah.
that's how that happens.
That gets dangerous with a lot of the music with negative stuff in it, because people
Mhm.
are just absorbing it, sucking it directly into the subconscious mind, especially with like rap, talking about drug use, talking about really negative behaviors, with
It's all in
those
the pop
isotonic
music too.
tones. And what's that?
It's in the pop music too.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's
Pop
all
has
part
gotten really
of,
dirty.
a lot of it's all part of Project Monarch and Beta Sex Kitten programming. This is not, these musicians coming up with this music. This is designed by the Department of Defense under Project Monarch, which is a spin-off of Project MK Ultra. It's all brain control. It's all programming the masses. So the less mainstream stuff consumed, the better.
There are very few that have been released fairly recently that I'm like, this is like so positive, so empowering. This is what we need more of. But unfortunately, that's not the majority. It's not the rule.
Unfortunately, yeah.
What'd you say?
Yeah, unfortunately. It's
Yeah.
However, people are waking up and they're becoming more conscious, which is a good thing. It's a very good thing. And they're being more conscious in all their lifestyle choices.
Mm-hmm.
So everything from what they're eating, what they're consuming, just all aspects of their life.
I am hopeful in knowing that even entertainers are waking up.
Yeah.
So there are certain like Justin Timberlake released a video that had all kinds of, crazy things in it, but it was all put there on purpose and as a means to help people wake up. And when you actually watch it, you're like, holy shit, I know where this is coming from. And then I love Pink. I love how she's very real. She's been putting more and more out there to help people understand that you can tap into your own. You can create your own destiny. And I love that too.
Yordi's watching. Thank you for watching, Yordi. Always great to connect with you. A lot of the music, he was saying, he's agreeing with us that the music, pop, rap, rock, and any type of music. I mean, a lot of rock and roll openly talks about being Satanistic. It's honoring Satan, calling Satan out. A lot of us, so all genres of music can have it.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
But it really comes down to the individual's choice of what they choose to be and being a leader, not a follower. So that's very true. Thank you, Yordi.
It is very true. However, I don't want to discount the fact that music makes it very easy to have it slip in the subconscious without a lot of blockades.
That's the unconscious programming. Yeah. That's people that just kind of put it on and zone out or listen to it while they sleep. Well, that's going right into the subconscious mind.
And we've talked about this before. The same thing with scrolling on social media. The same thing with putting on TV and not really paying attention to what's on, especially the news. Happens all the time.
Yeah, one thing people hate watching movies with me because as we're growing up, we're taught to pick the movies apart. Go, no, that doesn't make sense. Why are they doing
Mhm.
that? And we actually kind of put ourselves in the place of the hero or the villain, going, okay, whoa, no, what they should have done this. They should have made that choice. And um, so watching the movies and picking it apart critically prevents that just mindless consuming of content and the
That's so
music.
funny. I do that with my kids too.
Yeah, and
And
actually
we
listen.
apply it to like our lives, especially like some of the sci-fi stuff or some of the animated stuff, and we'll be like, okay, so what if that were real? How would that play out? All kinds of different things. Yeah.
Yeah, very true. Or consciously listening to the words of the song, not just go, "Oh, it's a pretty song. I like it." Wait a
Hmm.
second. What are they actually saying in there? Oh shit, that's not good. I'm not going to listen to that, even if I like the melodies and music of it. I won't listen to songs because of the message it has.
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
what we got a comment
And there's
here?
also talking about the music really quick before we move on, even some of the melodies, like they knew back way, way, way back before music had lyrics, back when it was all instrumental. They knew that certain kinds of melodies and certain notes and certain types of chords would invoke different kinds of emotions. So even just looking at that and knowing that, depending on what you're listening to, it can evoke some really, really dark stuff. That's a conversation that I've had with my oldest, who is now 11, who tends to like more of the mainstream stuff and is exposed to more from his friends. So we have conversations all the time about how, like, listen, we're not going to listen to that right now because that is going to hurt my mood, mom's mood, and you don't want mom to be in a bad mood. You don't want mom to be feeling that kind of way. So we're not going to listen to that song right now because it's not good for any of us then. Those are conversations that I have openly with my kids too.
Yeah, very true. I was just watching the next comment and started
That's
laughing.
fun. I didn't see it.
Well, not the next comment, but the next comment. So, yeah, it's not just music, movies, television. It's
Yep.
all of it, and the Department of Defense has their hands in all of it. And uh, Project Monarch is very invasive in so many areas of our life. You're you already asked, so I got to ask Brian, what do you use to keep the mustache so perfect? Uh, Believe it or not, Elmer stick glue. I get the purple stuff, so it's washable, but I can keep it'll stay in place for days. It might sound ridiculous, but I put it on, hold it in place, and then yeah, it's not necessary, but it's easier to use like a blow dryer. Hold it in place, blow dry it, and it kind of freezes it in place. And yeah, sounds ridiculous, but it works great. And then the mustache isn't like kind of falling down in my mouth, and I got to spit hairs out all the time, or it just holds it all out of the way, and it just looks very. I find it whimsical because in the Marine Corps everything was practical. The haircut was practical, the shave was practical, the clothes were practical. I'm like, I want some whimsical in my life. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to grow a beard and I'm going to grow a mustache and I'm going to make it a freaking whimsical handlebar mustache. And I think it's cool. And yeah, the stick glue works great to do that. She was, if mom ain't happy, nobody's happy. But that's not necessarily a good belief to have. I actually had to clear that in someone where, they go, oh, if mom ain't happy, I can't be happy. Whoa, no, 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 release that. So anybody that believes if mama ain't happy, nobody ain't happy, are you willing and ready to release that belief?
It's true while you're still living with mom.
No, you can't. Uh, you can't as a mom veto that one. So everybody needs to be set free from that. So um yeah, okay. So let's
I'm sorry.
release that. So are you willing
Release
and ready
that.
to release the idea that if mama ain't happy, nobody ain't happy?
Are you
Yes?
asking me?
Yes. Well, everyone, yes. So all you have to
Oh,
do is say yes to clear it. Yes? Okay. Okay, we'll
I'm
just.
not going to say yes to that.
Oh, okay. Well, that's your choice. Okay, but for everybody that does say yes
Yeah.
to releasing the idea that if Mama ain't happy, nobody ain't happy. Okay, gone with absolute resolution from infinity to infinity and beyond. Deleted, destroyed, uncreated, never was, never is, and never shall be. From infinity to infinity and beyond. And Sarah, with having 3 kids, how do you look so put together, like you have everything handled? That's tough to do.
I don't. That's why if mom ain't happy, nobody's happy.
Well, you do though. You keep it together no matter what's happening in your life, and you might feel rough sometimes, but you actually do a really good job of holding it together.
I told you guys my secrets. Gratitude and forgiveness. Gratitude and forgiveness. Gratitude and forgiveness.
At the end game is the government is letting the artist hide behind the First Amendment and the art in the name of creator pushing evil and negative on your kids and young adults. That's very true. There's all these, and not only the physical law, but also the cosmic law and divine law. The evil forces find loophole and loophole and loophole. Well, free will. No, they have to have the choice. So there's a lot of ways the government traps people and subjects them to brainwashing and says they're choosing. They choose to listen to music. They don't have to listen to the music, but they don't understand. The people listening to the music don't understand that it is brainwashing or it is mind control or part of Project MK Ultra or Project Monarch. If mom is not happy, I can't be happy because she will be calling me every other minute. Yeah, there's that.
That sounds like my 11-year-old.
Okay, I think we got another comment here. I think if we start regulating content, it may be the best intentions, but slippery slope. Yeah, it really is. When we start clamping down on things, it's making people aware of what is in this, and then with our dollars, we can vote. So if people stop listening to the stuff that they know is mind control, that is programming, people turn off the news at listening to all this negative content, filling people with fear. If that gets turned off, nobody's listening to it. The dollars aren't going to be coming in, and it's just going to get shut down. So people will vote with their money, and that's really the best option there.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, that was the whole reason for the things that we have now. The content has been regulated, just not in a way that was beneficial for the people. So if we give the government the right and the ability to regulate everything, then that means that we don't get a say. So yeah, education's the best way to go on these things.
This is kind of dumb, but I remember the movie Zoolander with mind-controlled part to kill the Malaysian minister. Yeah.
I've never seen that movie.
I forget. It's been a long time. But yeah, they show a lot of what they're doing in movies. And because people don't object to it, because it's just a movie, that gives them permission because they didn't object to it. That's permission. So it's a lot of the ways that they've spiritually gotten permission and really did bad things. So people didn't reject to it in the movie, so they didn't object. So that gives them permission. So there's so many traps put out there. So
that goes back to having gratitude and forgiving and being conscious about what you're taking in and all the things.
I was just going to circle back around. I'm like, we're at an hour and a half, and let's bring it back to Thanksgiving, and thank everybody for watching. Without you guys, it wouldn't be as cool or exciting. The comments that we're getting, it's really great. Really sparks some interesting conversations. Really pushes us in some amazing ways. So how was your Thanksgiving? Did you have anything interesting over there?
Me?
Yeah.
I mean, we did most of the regular stuff, I guess. We
Okay.
always we're meat. I know you're vegan. We're meat eaters, and my kids always fight over the turkey legs. So we also do like a whole tray of like chicken legs so that they can all have legs because that's what they like. Um, but other than that, I think we stuck to the norms, most of the norms.
Yeah. For me, I go very traditional now because, like I can't eat the meat. It just destroys my stomach. And most of the food for Thanksgiving, what a traditional American Thanksgiving is, I can't do anymore. So what I did wild rice, which is an Anishinaabe traditional food or a Ojibwe traditional food. The wild rice, I put
Mhm.
ground chaga powder on it, and also sumac. So that's a very traditional dish. I did squash flavored in a very similar way, and some mushrooms and stuff like that. So I find ways, and I actually, to honor the tradition, I go in a very traditional way with it. And I'm drinking chaga tea right now. So I ground up the chaga mushroom. So I'm like, well, why not make some chaga tea? So I ground up the powder and kind of used it like a matcha powder, mixed it in with hot water, and it's really tasty, and it's really good for you. So
Very
okay,
good.
we got another comment.
I can't see. Oh, there it is.
Parenting comes into play too. A lot of parents are out there buying crap for their kids. Yeah,
Mhm.
the kids kick and scream because they want it, but kids want ice cream for dinner. So the parents need to step in and know what's best in the best and highest good for the children.
In every sense.
Yeah.
And with the consumption and the media and the food and the all the things.
So you already said right, but I am not saying to control everything. But when you got an artist like Cardi B saying in what she says in her music, like WAP or
Wow.
WAP,
Uh-huh.
just saying something should not be said. I'm
It's
not
true.
familiar with the artist, nor am I familiar with WAP.
I'll tell you, but not here.
Okay, that bad, huh? Okay,
Not that.
yeah. So there used to be decency. There used to be, certain standards that we'd put out for the public, and there is free speech, and there is, like America is very puritanical about sexual topics, but we're very explicit about violence. In Europe, it's actually the opposite way. Nudity is
I
nothing.
don't know. That whole music scene is getting very sketchy and sexually explicit. It's been
Yeah.
there for a long time and it's getting worse.
Okay, I haven't watched anything. I don't have a TV. I don't watch TV. I don't listen to modern music. So I'm really out of touch with reality. I was actually someone was asking me about um, something that was pop culture, and I'm like, I I have no idea what you're talking about. Honestly, I pretty much live in a cave or the jungle, or like I have no idea what's going on in the Hollywood world and the music world, and really don't care. I don't miss it. Uh, so yeah. Yordi said, "Have a good night. Thanks for watching, Yordi. Love having you on. Love talking to you.
Happy
We should catch up
Thanksgiving.
soon. Next time I'm in Florida, we definitely should meet up in person. I'd love to catch up." And then, speaking of Thanksgiving, I think it doesn't matter what you have to eat if you are happy and giving thanks. That's very true. So I had an Italian friend, and her family would do an traditional Italian meal. So they'd cook spaghetti, lasagna, all that good stuff. And there
Mhm.
was no turkey, but it was about giving thanks. It's about the family coming together.
I know of a family that orders Chinese every Thanksgiving. They get like a whole bunch of different Chinese dishes, and they all just eat whatever they want, like buffet style. But they do that specifically so nobody has to spend the day in the kitchen.
That's nice. It's a lot of work, yeah. That's what movie was that? The Christmas Story, where
I
the
have
dogs
never
come in
seen
and eat
that
the
movie
turkey.
either.
That's a classic. That was filmed in
I
Cleveland,
know.
Ohio.
I don't know
You can
that.
actually go to the Christmas Story house where it was filmed. So that's kind of a classic, like an old 1950s.
Yeah. I've heard of it. I just haven't actually seen it. I think I made it through like the first 5 minutes and got bored.
It is a little bit slower. This is actually
Yeah.
something I've noticed in a lot of the older movies. Going back, watching them, they're a lot less realistic. It's more like watching a play. Think about stage fighting on a play. It's kind of
Mhm.
very dramatic, and you just know what's going on. And I watched Indiana Jones, one of my favorite movies as a kid. I'm like, oh, there's no realism in the fight scenes at all. Thinking about some of the more modern movies and it's not just the action parts, it's the clip. The scenes in older movies seem to linger, and the cuts are much longer, and it's a slower pace, where modern movies move at a much faster clip rate. It's a scene, then another scene, then action, 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 where it doesn't really just kind of linger. You watch them walking away for 30 seconds.
Right. So it's like more realistic, and it's also I don't know if normalizes is the word I'm going for. Desensitizes. That's the word I was going for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you already said happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. I do agree. We need to. Oh, Chinese. Chinese. Why didn't I think of that? And then you've never seen A Christmas Story? What
I
have you
have
been doing with your
never
life?
seen that. No. I've seen a lot of classics, but not that one. Not the whole way through.
That's funny. Oh, Squirrel. What was the last topic we were talking about?
Movies, how they're more realistic now and they desensitize and more action oriented.
Yeah. So think about back in the 50s, if someone saw someone get killed, it would be absolutely traumatic. Now, in this modern day and age, we've seen so many people get killed or shot or other things like that happen in the movies that our subconscious mind, or video games especially, our subconscious mind can't tell the difference between killing someone in a video game and killing someone in real life. Consciously, we understand it, but our subconscious mind can't. So it starts to desensitize us to killing. So a lot of the video games are paid for by, guess who? The Department of Defense. Yeah.
So the other thing too is that we've seen so much footage, like live footage on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Like between like body cams and just like, everyone's got a camera on their cell phone now. Like think about all the footage from like 9/11. Think about the footage from, every recent racial ish. I want to be careful how I say this. Every recent racially having to do with criminal justice and law enforcement activity, anything that we've seen with that. Like we've seen a lot of violent activity that was live footage. That's the kind of stuff that never would have been aired before because it was never able to be aired before. And while on some points people might say, well, that's a good thing, it raises our awareness to what's happening out there, it's also a not so good thing because we're seeing it all the time. So when it happens, it's like, oh yeah, there's another one.
Yeah. So it really desensitizes people and programs. And think about what other stuff in movies, extraterrestrials. How many times have people seen extraterrestrials in movies, and now very realistic looking extraterrestrials? So now when they finally go, hey, we've been here this whole time, and come out and start teaching and helping and healing and working alongside humanity, like all the First Nations of the world talk about, the star people, the star nations, came and taught their people. When that finally comes out and comes through, people are going to be less. Think about back in the 50s, if they saw an extraterrestrial that didn't look like a human. Can you imagine if an insectoid came down, or a reptilian came down and was standing in front of them? They would have flipped their shit. Now it's like, nah, oh, okay. I've seen this a million times.
There's still a lot of people that would still flip their shit, though.
Yeah. There's a story.
But there's also The other thing that we have going right now is we have a lot of star seeds.
Yeah.
And that's like a completely different thing. So because we have star seeds, we have the support here to allow for something like that to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're here to open up people's consciousness to be able
Well,
to interact with the neighbors in a positive way, let's say. So yeah, we're here to open the door to communication and to make sure everything goes smoothly in this period of transition. But yeah, there's actually a story of a security guard at Area 51 that he saw an insectoid, which looks almost like a praying mantis, but not quite, and had a heart attack. He could not handle it. He just died right there on
I
the
have not
spot.
heard this story.
Yeah, it in Area 51, and it's not just seeing it; it's smelling it. I don't know if we talked about pheromones in another webcast. How we feel comfortable around people because we can smell their pheromones, and they're either part of our tribe or part of our group, or even talking about attraction. However, they have different pheromones. They have different body odors that may be not very familiar to us. Maybe it might be actually rather shocking to a different species smelling these. So like a lot of insectoids smell very different, and reptilians can smell very different, and they actually talk about having to wear specialized suits that absorb their aroma, because sometimes at certain times they can emit an aroma or an odor that will fill the whole base. So they actually have to wear special suits to keep some of that aroma in. So it's very similar to our pheromones. So they have it in a very pungent, powerful way. So and then not only the smell, not only the sight, but the sound. Just hearing like an insectoid will sound crinkly. It's these rough. I don't want to say glass, their shell moving, but when they move, it has a different sound as opposed to a human, which sounds a certain way when they move, when they walk. But to hear an insect walking, a massive insect walking, or something like that, or the way they breathe as well, it's very different. Or when they speak, they're not using the same vocal cords that we have, the same resonation chamber of the nose, the mouth, the cavity that we have. So it's going to sound very different, and it could be very off-putting. So through movies and techno magic, they've acclimatized or started to acclimatize people to the idea of that. Then slowly they're dropping hints on the news of showing UFOs. Oh my goodness, what is this? It may or may not exist. And they're going to start slowly revealing the ones that look like us. And they're like, well, actually, they've been here helping us the whole time. You really can't tell them apart from us. And then eventually, when people get comfortable, oh, there's people from other worlds. Okay, we're cool with that. All of a sudden, they're like, well, there's some that look a little bit different. And then they'll just ease them in until we get to the ones that don't look human at all. Then, talking about the aquafarians, that live underneath the oceans and have lived underneath the oceans for a very long time. Getting into that, they look in a very different way, and it's going to kind of freak people out that there's nations, massive nations underneath the water, and they didn't even know they're there. So it's going to be a little bit. You knew about all this, right?
Nope.
I see you deer in the headlights, and I forgot that we haven't had some of these conversations
We
yet.
have not. It's okay, though.
Yeah, we'll have to get you up to speed. We should actually see if any of them want to work with you or reach out and talk to you directly, because you have a very amazing gift of being able to talk to your guides. So if you can talk to guides, you can probably find a star group that wants to work with you, a positive star group that wants to work with you and give you some tools.
I don't know what that means, but okay.
And I think back in the day, kids understood the difference between reality and fiction. Some of that has to do with better parenting. Parents explained that it wasn't real.
And some of that has to do with special effects.
Yeah, that as well. Now it's more and more and more real, and it's hard to tell that, even with some of this deep fake technology, people can get on. I think there's even ones available to the public where they can get on. Like, if I put the filter on right now, I could look like anyone talking, and it would actually modulate my voice so it sounds like them talking. So a lot of the people like, well, I have to see a video to believe it. Well, if I see a video, I don't know
Doesn't
that
mean
I
it's
can
real.
believe it.
Yeah.
And actually, when you get into the projects, talking about Project Bluebeam, so even if you were to see something in front of you, it's not necessarily real, or it's not even there, because Project Bluebeam can beam visions into our mind, and we can see things. The technology is insane, and some of the yeah, not to go too deep down that rabbit hole, but question everything you see, especially if it's on mainstream news, because it may or may not be real.
Well, that's not even going down the rabbit hole that this is all just a projection, and therefore, if we can think it, we can see it.
That as well, too. So, well, we are at an hour and 46 minutes, so we probably should wrap it up. Today's episode, I'm like, oh, we'll just get on and give a little quick episode. No, we got into some deep rabbit holes today. Well,
That's
okay.
okay.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. And thanks, Sarah, for joining. It's so much fun doing these with you.
Thank you for having me.
So any last words?
No, just remember, we'll circle back around again. Gratitude and forgiveness, and happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thanks for watching. It's always a pleasure to have comments and so much positive interaction with us. So let me get the outro video, and we will catch up to you in the next episode. Thanks for watching.
We hope you enjoyed this video session. Please support the Infinite Love Movement by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel. Visit theinfinitelovemovement.org to sign up for healing sessions, classes, and events with Brian.